Hey, guess what's happening on this week's episode of the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with your friend and host, Oscar Camejo.
Let me ask you a question. What significant changes to your diet and nutrition do you think you need to make in order to improve your health, but maybe you're finding it very difficult to make? Is it avoiding junk food? Is it getting rid of sweets and pies, cakes, and other sweet things that you love? Is it eating more rabbit food and salad like your friend next door, right? Did you even hear that going completely vegan is the best thing to do to change your health? Well, is that true? Do you need to go completely vegan or not? Well, you know what? The choices we make every day play a major role in our health. But I understand there's so many options out there for diets, so many different eating programs and things that you should sign up for. Nutrition plans that you should just, start adopting in your life. Should you go on this diet or that diet? Should you buy this supplement? Do you get this protein powder? Or, oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming. I know I've been there. Well, my friend, it's time to take control of your eating instead of allowing food to control you. I know how it is in this era of all these diet programs and all these things out there. It's overwhelming. I get it. But keep this in mind. Food is the solution to improving our health, beating diabetes and other chronic diseases, and feeling energetic and feeling alive again, my friend. So, are you ready to make some profound changes in order to experience a healthy lifestyle? I hope you are. And like most people, your answer is probably, yes, I'm ready, but how do I get started? Well, I'm glad you tuned in to this week's episode of the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast, because in this episode, I'm going to help you to learn the top 5 basic changes you can make to your diet to experience better health and long-term lasting health, because that's the goal, right? You're also going to receive my recommendations on foods to eat and ones to avoid, or how about reducing? There's so many things that I can share with you today, but you know what? Let's keep it basic. So stick around to hear the rest of this week's episode. You don't want to miss it. Let's go. Be sure to visit the website at www.beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com for access to free resources and other information that will help you along your journey. If you would like to submit a question or a comment about the show or to learn more about the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle, you can always email me at hello@beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to this podcast. Welcome to this week's episode of the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with me, your host, Oscar Camejo, helping diabetics make lifestyle changes to reverse type 2 diabetes. I am so grateful for all of my listeners who tune in literally from all around the world in about 42 to 43 countries. Thank you, whether you're in Africa, Asia, you're here in the US, wherever you are, thank you so much for tuning in. And do me a favor, be sure to rate this show because it helps to get the word out and get into the ears of many more people. So let's grow this community. And also to my social media followers, I appreciate you guys so very much. This podcast is not just for people dealing with diabetes, but it's also for people who are wanting to prevent certain chronic illnesses like diabetes. If you or your loved one is struggling with diabetes or pre-diabetes and you want to make changes in your life, listen, I've been there. That was my story. But maybe you tuned in because you literally just want to experience better health and you don't want to ever deal with diabetes and other issues. Maybe you're here because you heard that, hey, there's this guy who lost over 80 pounds in less than a year. I want to know how he did it so I too can lose weight. Well, thank you again for tuning in. Yes, I used to be 268 pounds, folks. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes back in August 2020, and I needed to lose weight. But it wasn't only uh, necessary for me to lose weight. I needed to regain my health. I needed to improve my health because you know what? Losing the weight was just only one thing. I needed to feel energetic. I wanted to feel energetic. I wanted to be more active. I wanted to just feel better. And I was eating a lot of highly processed foods, a lot of sugary drinks, and all those things were just negatively impacting my health. And it just made things worse the more and more I just kept eating these things that I knew were not good for me, but I didn't know how to take control of it. And the more and more I started learning and implementing different things in my life, the easier it became. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't have days where I struggled and maybe had a setback, but you know what? My setbacks became less and less frequent. My cheat days, if you will, became less and less frequent. My cravings started going away the more and more I just started implementing really basic things in my life. Because you know what, folks, I don't believe that improving our health should be so complicated. And I think that's why a lot of people may struggle and they give up, cave in, and quit after a while because some of the things that they're implementing are not sustainable. You know, they'll go on social media and they'll see somebody who says, yeah, you can lose 30 pounds in 30 days by just taking this pill and just doing this or that. And those extreme things really get a lot of people into trouble. And by trouble, I mean they regain the weight and even more later on because a lot of things that they do is just not sustainable. So that's why this podcast exists. It exists to help people make lifestyle changes to improve their health. Listen, folks, I am now roughly 186, probably 185 pounds roughly. And I'm able to keep the weight off. Again, like I said, I lost over 80 pounds and I'm able to keep it off. Not because I'm doing this crazy exercise program or really extreme diet program. No, I never went on a quote unquote diet. I didn't count calories. I didn't count carbs. I didn't do any of that. Now, I'm not saying that people shouldn't. I'm just letting you know what I did and didn't do to achieve better health, to lose weight, to even get my blood sugar under control to the point where I no longer need diabetes medications. You know, I no longer have high blood pressure, high cholesterol. You know, I don't have any issues with my heart and just other things that I used to deal with, all because I made some basic changes to my life. And so that's what I want to always emphasize on this podcast, that you can make some dietary changes to improve your health, folks, and it doesn't have to be complicated. So there are people who often ask me whether I meet them at the gym for the first time or at the grocery store or just even people I may come in contact with at work or in different clubs that I'm a part of and groups and so forth. But they always ask me some of the same questions when they learn of my story. People often ask me, how did you do it? What changes did you make to lose all that weight? And how long did it take you? And the reason why most people ask that question is because, you know, maybe they're trying to achieve good health as well. And they want to know, okay, if it worked for you, what can work for me? So one thing I like to tell people is that there is no one size fits all method when it comes to your diet. There's not one diet that is automatically going to send diabetes into remission and cause you to reverse type 2 diabetes. There just isn't, folks. There isn't one magic pill that's going to cause you to lose a bunch of weight. There's not one meal plan that's going to cause you to experience good health. There's not one exercise that you're going to, or exercise program that you need to do to lose weight. So you get what I'm saying. But there are some basic things that I believe can apply to most of us in order for us to experience a healthy lifestyle. Because again, my thing, folks, I keep stressing to people, stop focusing on the short term fixes. Stop focusing on the short term solutions. Think about, how do I want to live moving forward? What foods do I want to incorporate in my life moving forward? What things should I do to maintain a healthy lifestyle? I'm always going to push lifestyle changes, not short-term fixes, because I know what it's like to go on a short-term diet. You get some results, but then you reach a plateau. And that's like the worst feeling, where you putting in all this work and you just reach this plateau and it just seems like the needle isn't moving left or right. Or in some cases, when it comes to the scale, you reach a plateau, but then you start gaining more weight. And that's kind of like the worst feeling sometimes. So let's go over the 5 dietary changes I believe you can make to experience a healthy lifestyle. I'm going to list these and then kind of talk about them in depth a little bit here. Number 1, change your perception of food. Number 2, change how much you eat. That deals with your portion control. Number 3, change how often you eat. That's your frequency. Number 4, change when you eat. That deals with how late you eat at night and so forth. Number 5, change how you eat. Basically, how you prepare or buy your food. So let's deal with number 1, change your perception of food. I used to not really pay attention to and be very conscious of the food that I would eat. I would just eat because I was hungry, right? So I used to think of food as, okay, this is something you put in your body when you're hungry to keep your body from being hungry, right? Most of us kind of think about that. I'm hungry, let me eat something. I'm hungry, let me eat something. Okay. So I want you to start thinking of food actually as fuel to give you energy. So think again of food as fuel. Also think of food as a source of nutrition. Remember, fuel, nutrition, and also think of food as something to enjoy. You don't have to go on these extreme diets and eat food that you don't like, just to eat quote unquote healthy. I remember wanting to buy some crackers or something like that, and I bought these quote unquote healthy crackers. Man, they tasted like cardboard. They had no taste to them, and it was just bad. So again, food is something that you should enjoy. Don't turn to food for comfort. Food is not for comfort. Food again is for fuel, is for nutrition, is for enjoyment. Don't look at food as something like, oh, let me just turn to it because I'm depressed about this. I'm dealing with all this other stuff. So let me just constantly just go to the refrigerator and just eat a whole bunch of this and a whole bunch of that. Let me eat all these cakes because, I'm going through this and I'm going through that. Now, I do understand there is a component of mental health that people deal with when it comes to dealing with stress and the correlation between stress and overeating and so forth. So I don't want to go into that in this podcast episode, but I definitely want you to reframe your thinking and your perception of food. Food is not for comfort, folks. It is for fuel, for nutrition, and for enjoyment. Okay. Number 2, change how much you eat. That's your portion control. If you're used to loading your plate with a bunch of meat, whether it's chicken, beef, or even fish, which is, let's just call it protein. Let's say if more than half of your plate is full of meat, that's probably a little bit too much. I want you to start thinking of, okay, how much starch am I putting on my plate, which is like your potatoes and stuff like that. Even French fries, if you're going out for, with friends and, you getting a burger or whatnot, is your plate full of the, what do you call that, bottomless French fries where they just keep bringing French fries out? You may want to rethink that. That's a lot of food. Portion control is very important because sometimes a lot of people, they overeat without even realizing it. And sometimes, when you go to these buffets, you may not necessarily need to go back for seconds or even thirds. Or better yet, you may not even want to go to the buffet place because it's going to become very, very difficult to control your portions if you go to these all you can eat places. So change how much you eat, because you know what? A lot of times we are consuming so many calories that, and especially if we're not exercising enough to burn off those calories, you can really mess things up when it comes to your health. So begin thinking about how much you're eating, really paying attention to what you're eating. I believe on the American Diabetes website, there is a diagram. It's called the plate method. As a matter of fact, you can just Google it. Look at plate method, and it'll show you what your portion sizes should be. So, for example, for me, half of my plate is usually vegetables, whether it's cooked vegetables or let's say if I'm doing a salad. Most of my plate, when I'm saying most, is at least half of my plate is vegetables. Then I have a third of my plate, which is protein. I don't like to eat a lot of meat in one setting. And if I do a starch, it'll be like a sweet potato or something like that. That'll take up another third. So you hear what you understand what I'm saying. You definitely need to change how much you eat. Again, that's your portion control. Now, number 3, change how often you eat. That has to do with your frequency. Back in the day, I used to hear that, yeah, you should eat 6 times a day and maybe 8 times a day to fuel your metabolism and get your metabolism going so that you can lose weight. But think about it. If you aren't controlling your portions, right, and you're eating a lot of food quite often throughout the day, 6 times a day, well, and especially again, if you're not really moving much, you're not exercising more, what do you think is going to happen? You are going to put on weight. And if you're not making healthy choices and eating healthy snacks, you are going to put on weight. Not only that, you could be negatively impacting your metabolism. You are probably consuming things that are high in sodium, high in sugar. So it's just creating this chaos in your body. I know that's what was going on with me. So you don't have to eat 6 and 8 times a day to fuel your body. You don't need to do that. Again, everybody's situation is different. So I know there are some people who are doing weight training and they want to body build and they want to load up on carbs and they're told that they need to eat 6 times a day. I'm not saying that you should do that. I'm not recommending that you do that. I don't think you necessarily have to do that because you do need to give your body a rest as well to properly digest your food. You don't want to constantly just be stuffing yourself with food and so forth. So I would recommend you reducing your frequency of eating. Now, that also doesn't mean go to the extreme where you just go from eating 6 times a day to now eating once a day. That's a drastic change. You want to find balance. You know what I mean? Some people reduce it down to 3 times a day, where it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's pretty basic. Some people may, instead of doing a big meal for breakfast, they may want to do a smoothie, like a fresh fruit smoothie, fruit and vegetable smoothie, or just juice in the morning for breakfast and wait till lunch to have a big lunch and then taper off and have a small dinner. That may be something that works. I've tried that before. Where I am now, I stick to like a 3 times a day, maybe 4 times a day of eating. In between, I'm maybe doing like healthy snacks like celery, carrots, mixed nuts, and some fruits, in between breakfast and lunch and in between lunch and dinner. So you get my point. Now, number 4, change when you eat. Now, this is big. I'm talking about time of day, specifically at night. You may have heard that eating late at night, 3 hours before you go to bed is a safe place to be. And I recommend that. What you don't want to do is, especially if you're still working on getting rid of cravings and so forth, you don't want to be eating late at night and munching on chips and popcorn and drinking soda and stuff like that really late at night and then going straight to bed. Because that's one of the quickest ways to put on pounds and keep pounds on. So one thing that I started doing is cooking earlier in the day, let's say around 7 p.m. so I can eat around 7:30, 8 o'clock p.m. And that way, I give my body time to digest my food. When it comes to that 9 o'clock time frame, I try not to eat beyond 9 p.m. at night because I know in about an hour or so, I'm going to hit this hay. And so for me, it has made a profound difference in my life. I sleep better because I don't have a whole bunch of food on my stomach that's still trying to digest. I'm not trying to wake up in the middle of the night with any cravings and so forth. So, I'm very conscious of my portion control and how much I've eaten, throughout the day and even when I'm eating at night. It just has really made a profound difference in my life. So if you're used to like how I used to get up in the middle of the night and make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or put on a Pop-Tart or something in the middle of the night. And it was really affecting my sleep and it affected my weight and so forth. So it was just a big challenge for me. So just consider that. Number 5, change how you eat. I'm specifically talking about how you prepare food or how food is prepared for you, whether you're buying food or making food at home. Think about, okay, how is this food being prepared that I'm about to consume? Am I eating a lot of fried foods? Am I eating a lot of food that's prepared with a bunch of salt and sugar and so forth? But specifically about the cooking portion. If you're eating a lot of fried food, I recommend that you reduce and cut back on eating fried food. I did it for probably over a year where I was like, you know what? I'm not touching any fried food. I'm going to eat more baked or broiled food because I learned about saturated fat and foods that are cooked in a whole bunch of oil and so forth is just not good for your heart. I wanted to have a healthier heart and I also wanted to reduce fat. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to eat less and less fried foods and eat more baked food, So whether I got food from a restaurant, I requested baked or broiled, let's say fish, baked chicken. So things of that nature you want to continue to really pay attention to. I even bought an air fryer because I was limited in my time when I had to, when I'm coming from the gym and I'm at home and I have other things that I need to work on at night. So I'm like, okay, how can I prepare food that's healthier that I can also prepare quickly or quicker? So when I bought an air fryer, it really changed the game for me, folks. I don't do fried foods. So I was able to buy an air fryer and I was able to put salmon in there. If I'm making a steak, yes, I eat steak. I love steak. I love the protein. And I'm able to prepare steak in there, even chicken wings on Fridays sometimes, you name it. I was able to put it in there. And on the stovetop, while the air fryer is doing its thing with the meat, I'm actually sauteing vegetables. I know what's in my vegetables. I eat by a variety of color. I eat red, green, and yellow. That's what I always do. And so I'm able to season it how I need to, with pepper, parsley. Sometimes I put cumin in there just for that spicy flavor. I love a lot of flavor in my food, onion powder, garlic powder, chop up some onions, red peppers, green peppers. I put some zucchini in there, some squash, broccoli sometimes. So you name it. So again, change how you eat, and that's how you prepare your food. I want you to start eating at home more. And I'm not talking about going out and buying something in the drive-thru and bringing it home. Stop playing. I'm talking about cooking more and eating out less. Number one, you're going to be saving a lot more money doing it that way. And number two, you're going to know exactly what's going in your food. Now, let's say if you live a busy lifestyle and you're having to order food, folks, just buy more baked foods, such as, your baked chicken or broiled chicken, and cut out the fried chickens. You really don't need it. I know you like the taste. Maybe you grew up eating fried chicken and French fries and fried fish, but honestly, your body doesn't need fried food. We just eat fried foods because we just like the taste. I'm not telling you to give up chicken. I'm not telling you to give up, fish. I'm just trying to get you to choose a healthier option, baked or broiled. You get what I'm saying. Okay. So again, those are the 5 dietary changes, the basic changes that I think you can make to experience a healthy lifestyle. Now, these are so basic that anybody can start, implementing in their life. And I wanted to keep it basic so that you can see that, hey, this is doable. If Oscar can do it, I can do it too. Now, I want to go over some foods that I think you should eat more of if you're not eating them now, and some things that you should avoid or at least reduce. Again, this is all basic stuff. These are things that I put in practice myself. This is not just something that, I heard. These are things that I put in practice. So when people ask me, hey, what did you do? I tell them about the 5 dietary changes that they can make to experience a healthy lifestyle. And I also tell them, hey, these are some foods that you should eat, and here are some things that you should avoid. So let's go over this first list of foods that you should eat more of if you're not eating them now. I'm not going to go into specifically why per se, but these are things that you can research on your own, because I think it's important for you to research and find out what works for you. There may be some things that you like on this list, some other things you may not like. But the goal is to find out what works for you and incorporate healthier options for yourself so that you can, remember, enjoy your food and have fun with your food. Okay, so when you go grocery shopping, here's a list of things that you should consider eating more of. Fatty fish, such as salmon, leafy greens, sweet peppers, variety of sweet peppers, avocados for healthy fat. I love avocados. Cucumbers. Cucumbers are very refreshing and hydrating. Eggs for protein, chia seeds for fiber, and a whole bunch of other nutrients. Beans, such as black beans, they're good for fiber and for protein. Greek yogurt, protein. Mixed nuts. Oh, a whole bunch of benefits for eating mixed nuts. The protein and healthy fat. Broccoli, definitely packed with a whole bunch of nutrients. Cook with extra virgin olive oil. Definitely very, very good. Flax seeds. I use flax seeds in my smoothies sometimes. Good source of fiber. Incorporating apple cider vinegar when you're making your own homemade salad dressing. I definitely recommend that. Or some people like to, right before they're going to eat something sweet, they do what's called a hack, which they put like a couple of teaspoons or so in a cup of water, 8 ounce full of water, and they mix up the apple cider vinegar with the water, and they drink it, with the straw to help protect your teeth, enamel, and so forth. And that helps to blunt sugar spikes, by the way. So next thing, strawberries and blueberries. Now, here's the thing with strawberries and blueberries. I love them. I eat them all the time. but you want to buy those organic because they're on the list of what's called the Dirty Dozen. Basically, when they're sprayed with pesticides, sometimes the pesticides get in the fruit, such as soft flesh fruit like strawberries and blueberries. So you want to buy those organic as much as possible. Don't eat them. Don't just buy the regular ones. Definitely go with organic. Garlic, very, very good. Matter of fact, I would add garlic to when I'm seasoning my food because it really had like this sodium type taste for me. It still gave my food flavor. So I can avoid actually adding salt to my food. So think about that. And earlier I mentioned zucchini and squash, perfect combination of vegetables that are packed with a bunch of nutrients. So think about that. So those are like 17, maybe 18, 19 things that I think you should eat more of. And notice I didn't just say eat salads, but of course you do want to eat more salads that incorporate not just romaine, but think of kale salads, think of spinach salads. I love spinach. I think I use spinach every day in my smoothie. So there's a bunch of things that I think you should incorporate if you're not already incorporating. Now, notice these are things that I do want you to eat more of if you're not eating any of these. But again, look at what works for you. There may be some things on this list that you like, and again, that you don't like. Come up with your own list of things that you should eat more of. And if you don't know, do some research. Again, don't eat things you don't like. You want to incorporate more things that you do like that are healthy. Just choose healthier options. That's the goal. Now, as I close up, here are some things that I want you to avoid or reduce, because just as important as it is in figuring out which foods you should include in your diet, whether you have diabetes or not, it's also important to understand which foods you should limit or completely reduce. I mean, I went through this whole exercise and I really think it made a big impact on my blood sugar, my weight, and so forth, and helping me to get off medications. And the reason why I want you to avoid these foods or reduce them is because many of these foods and even drinks are high in carbs. They're high in added sugar, which causes your blood sugar levels to spike and just cause you to put on weight and retain weight and so forth. There's other foods that could negatively impact your heart health and contribute to your weight gain. So here are the foods that I think you should limit or avoid, whether you have diabetes or not. Number one, refined grains like white bread, pasta, rice. These are just so high in carbs and low in fiber. So if you're really wanting to reduce your blood sugar levels, definitely you want to stay away from refined grains. Again, the breads, the pasta, the rice, and so forth. Number two, sugar sweetened beverages. I have an entire episode where I talk about this. I probably have 2 or 3 of them. Liquid calories, the high sugary drinks are packed with a bunch of calories, folks. Not only are sugar sweetened beverages like soda, sweet tea, iced teas, your lemonades, and even some of your energy drinks and sports drinks, not only are they lacking important nutrients, they also contain a bunch of concentrated sugar and per serving, and they just really send your blood sugar spiking very, very quickly. So avoid sugar sweetened beverages. I mean, you can drink your coffee, but I would avoid adding sugar and these sweetened creamers to it, because you don't need the added sugar, folks. You really don't need it. I know you do it for taste. So hopefully you get my point where reducing sugary sweetened drinks is very important. Number 3, fried foods. I mentioned this earlier. Fried foods are loaded with a bunch of saturated fat, because they're just cooked in all of this oil. Especially when you go to a restaurant, you don't know what kind of oil that they're using. So still stay away from fried foods. Fried foods like potato chips as well, French fries, even those mozzarella sticks are typically high in calories and high in cholesterol. And you just really don't need the foods that are fried. Okay. Choose better options. I mentioned the air fryer that I have. There's times where I'll buy a sweet potato, I'll cut it up, season it up, and put it in the air fryer. And I don't have to deal with fried foods at all. Number 4, alcohol. People with diabetes especially are generally advised to limit their alcohol intake. I'm not an alcohol drinker, never have, and I don't plan on ever drinking alcohol. It's just not something that I'm into. But if you are a consumer of alcohol, you may want to consider limiting your alcohol intake, because it's said that, alcohol can increase the risk of low blood sugar. And you don't want to end up dealing with hypoglycemia either, where your blood sugar levels just drop so low and it impairs your ability to just function. So just kind of consider that. You also may have heard of a beer belly, because beer is made with yeast, from what I understand. And it just really contributes to weight gain for a lot of people, especially if you're consuming alcohol on an empty stomach. I hear you really definitely can impair your progress when it comes to your health. So you don't need alcohol, folks. And some people may say, well, what about wine? Because I heard wine has antioxidants and so forth. So I'm not going to get into that. I'm not an expert on alcohol drinking and reducing alcohol intake and the effects of alcohol. I'm not an expert in that, folks. That's just not my level of expertise, because I don't have that experience. However, I do encourage you to do the research on your own. But in any case, you don't want to overconsume alcohol, period, because it could impair your judgment and lead to other complications. Okay, let me move on. Number 5, breakfast cereal. Most varieties of breakfast cereal are high in added sugar. It may say on the front, good source of protein and whatever, but look at the label on the package of cereal and see the added sugar content, look at the calorie content, look at the ingredients and so forth. So again, when you're shopping for cereal, be sure to check the label, my friends. Check the label. Check the label. Just because it says on the front, made with real fruit. But don't get fooled by the packaging. I'm into marketing. So here's a rule of thumb. Everything on the front of the packages is straight marketing to get you to buy the product, right? It'll make certain health claims. In some products, make certain health claims, like known to reduce cholesterol and so forth. But pay attention to the label so you know exactly what is in that product. Number 6, candy. Do I really need to tell you why you should not be eating candy, folks? Come on, for the sugar. Yeah. So I'm not even going to go into that. But candy can spike your blood sugar. I used to love chocolate covered raisins, even with popcorn. Yeah, it was wild. The candy bars, wild. Every time I went to the grocery store and I would go to the checkout line, I would get a certain candy bar and a soda without even thinking about it. And by the time I got to the car, I would have already consumed all of that candy and half the bottle of soda and still wanted more. So it's crazy. Number 7, we're almost done, folks. Number 7, processed meats. You want to avoid processed meats, like your bacon, your hot dogs, your salami, and other cold cuts because, they're high in sodium. They're packed with a bunch of preservatives and other harmful compounds that you don't need. You don't need a lot of the processed foods, folks, because number one, you don't know what's completely in these products. And especially if you're not reading or used to reading the label, you don't want to just constantly be eating processed foods because it's been studied that processed foods have led to high cholesterol and other chronic diseases and put you just more at risk for heart disease and other complications. So stay away from processed meats as much as you can. All right. Number 8, and the last one, fruit juice. This kind of goes back to the sugary sweetened beverages that I mentioned earlier. Although something may say on the front, 100% fruit juice, a lot of the fruit juices that are made today are packed with fructose. Fructose, my friends, will drive your blood sugar sky high if you're consuming a lot of it. Even with some people, they may drink one glass of it and it just throws their numbers just off. I remember there would be some nights where I would just drink like 3, 4, 5 glasses of orange juice at night before going to bed, and then drink some more in the morning or in the middle of the night. I used to love grape juice, and I thought I was eating or drinking something healthy because it said that it was fruit juice. Honestly, the fruit juice was concentrated. It had a bunch of sugar in it and fructose and high fructose corn syrup and so forth. And it was just hard to stabilize my blood sugar. So just keep that in mind. So I'd rather if you are going to make or drink fruit juice, I'd rather you make it at home. Buy yourself a juicer, juice your own oranges, juice your own grapes and so forth. And you may say, well, Oscar, that's going to be expensive. I tried that and I might as well just buy the sugar-free version at the store. Listen, folks, I can't tell you what to do. I can only give you my recommendations. I say stay away from the store-bought fruit juices. Make your own fruit juices. You'll love it. Your body's going to love it. And you will experience health benefits long-term. Okay? So let's stop drinking things for taste and let's start consuming things for health. All right? Well, folks, thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I want to hear from you. There's so many things that I have planned for the show. I'm going to bring on some more guests and so forth, and having you tune in means the world to me. There's a bunch of book reviews that I'm going to share and things that I just really enjoy sharing with people. I'm big on nutrition, big on exercise, and just living an overall healthy lifestyle, an active lifestyle. So as always, stay focused, keep moving, never go back, leap forward, bounce back because you can, my friend. And above all else, trust God. You got this. I believe in you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with Oscar Camejo. We hope you enjoyed this episode. As a reminder, this podcast is intended for motivational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional care by a physician or other healthcare professional or qualified fitness instructor. This podcast is provided on the understanding that it does not constitute medical or professional advice or services. If you're looking for help on your journey, seek a qualified medical practitioner. It's important that you utilize someone who is a trained, licensed healthcare professional who can help you on your journey toward good health.